Hey guys, another update on the Kubota B20 restoration series. And I'm also going to show you how I load the tires with windshield washer fluid. It adds considerable weight and ballast. It basically does the same thing as adding the wheel weights that you can purchase for mini tractors. Other people sometimes load them with calcium and some other things out there as well. But windshield washer fluid is cheap, it won't freeze, and it's something you can get anywhere just about, and it won't rust and rot out your wheels like the calcium will. You'll also lower the center of gravity, so if you're on hills and inclines, it'll make it more stable, less likely to roll over. And if you're working with a front end loader, like I have here, that hasn't been mounted back on yet, will allow you to pick up heavier items on the front of the loader without starting to pick up the back tires. Real quick, before I dive into that, I'll go over some of the things I've done since my last video. I've rewired the entire unit. The entire electrical system has pretty much been overhauled. Most of it's been replaced. While I was at it, I went ahead and upgraded a few things. My backlights were all smashed up, so I've replaced these with LED units. I have an LED in my taillight, and I also added some LED flood lamps. I actually even went and replaced my dummy lights in the dash with some LEDs as well. I did add a tri-gauge set, so I have a water temp, a volt gauge, and an oil pressure gauge. We have a new fuse block down here. This is actually the same fuse block that we used with the solar generator unit. And one interesting thing with this tractor is when the ignition's on, the fault LEDs don't light up. But when you turn the ignition off on this unit, for some reason these lights come on. So it actually serves as a good reminder. I like to disconnect my battery when the tractor's not in use anyway. So that kind of gives me a quick reminder to disconnect the battery. I didn't have a place to put the switches that I liked, so I went ahead and added a switch panel back here. And I've got a switch for the rear lights and then a switch for the front lights. So I can control both the front and rear independently. And then these, because I added this bar here, I can put these around and point them. So if I'm working somewhere where I want to cast some light off to the side, it's very easy to do, to just pivot that. And these lights just are so much more powerful than the headlights that this unit came with. Are kind of buried inside, and they're just really old school incandescent bulbs. They don't cast much light at all. While I was back here, since I put in a new switch box, I went ahead and added another volt gauge, and I've got some USB plugs there as well. So that'll be nice if I have my phone on me or using anything on the tractor that plugs into those 5-volt USB. So the first thing we want to do to load these up, you're going to want to get several cases of your windshield washer fluid. You'll want a 5-gallon bucket. On Amazon, they sell these little adapters that will screw down onto the top of the valve stem and allow you to attach it to a garden hose. So you'll want this adapter and this garden hose. You can use any length of garden hose. I just picked up a lead-in hose that gives me a nice short length that's easy to work with. And then you're going to want a pump. I just picked up a 1/4 horsepower submersible pump, just a very inexpensive economy pump. And you just submerge this whole thing with the intake strings on the bottom, and it has a garden hose output. I'll put the links for all the materials that I used on the blog and probably in the video description as well. Next thing you're going to want to do is jack up the back of your tractor. Once you have it jacked up, place it in neutral. You should be able to free spin the wheel. We're going to want to put the valve stem towards the top. And we're going to go ahead and take the cap off. And then we're going to remove the core from the inside. This will blow the pressure out as well. So make sure you don't lose the valve core as you're unscrewing it. It's going to want to shoot out there. If you order the same adapter that I did, it comes with a few different sizes. There must be some different valve stem sizes out there apparently. Most of them are pretty standard, and you'll want to find the one that threads on to the end of your valve stem after you remove the valve core. And for me, it looks like it's this one right here. Yep. So we're just going to thread that on there all the way. And then once that's on there, we're gonna thread the hose adapter on to that. Just like that. Now we're ready to be able to install a garden hose straight into the tire. Next, we're going to go ahead and attach our garden hose to our pump. Stick it in our bucket. And then attach our hose to our adapter. And that's all there is to setting it up. It's really very easy. We can just start pouring our fluid in, and with the pump in the 5-gallon bucket, you'll get about 3.5 gallons in here at a time. This is the 4th jug going in now. And you don't have to fill it to the brim. You'll want to make sure your valve stem is located towards the top of the tire, and go ahead and turn your pump on. And as it's pumping in, I'm going to go ahead and just keep adding fluid. Try to keep our bucket topped off as it's pumping. After it's been running for a while, you'll notice that it'll start slowing down, because what's happening is it's pumping the fluid into the tire. There's no place for the air to escape, so the air is building pressure as well. So we're pressurizing the tire up as we're pumping the fluid in. As that pressure increases, the pump starts slowing down. When it reaches a point where you want to vent that air, it's very easy to do. All we do is just turn our pump off. You'll see the air start burping back out of the tire. Then we'll just let that burp and gurgle, and that's all the pressure coming back out of the tire. That's the reason we want to have our valve stem at the top. It's because all the fluid will go to the bottom of the tire and all the air pressure stays at the top. And we don't want to push all our fluid back out. We just want to vent the air pressure from the top. And we'll just let that burp for a little bit. It's already starting to slow down. Just about done. And that's probably good enough. And then we go ahead and plug her back in. And we just keep doing that until we've pumped in as much fluid as we want to put in there. While I'm letting that pump run a little bit, I'm going to show you all that's left for this project. These tires that are on this are not matched. They're 2 different tires, and they're both full of plugs. And even with all the plugs in them, I've put slime in them, but they just keep losing air anyway. So I followed one of the recommendations of one of the people on the blog. They left a comment that they have the same tractor. They've used these tires and were happy with them. So I decided to give those a try. Thank you guys for the recommendation. These are a D-Stone 23 by 10.5 with a 12-inch rim tubeless tire. I've never used D-Stones before. I'm not familiar with them, but willing to give them a try. They're very inexpensive tires, so that's always a plus. And then the next thing I got to do is I've already got 1 coat of paint on the loader. And as you actually, I don't know if you could see that, the tractor just tilted over to the other side. I had the jack fairly balanced in the middle. The idea was that I would be able to lift both sides at once. And that tire obviously just got heavy enough that that's not going to work. I'm going to have to reposition my jack. So we have a couple coats of paint on the loader. I want to do a couple more. I wanted to get paint behind all of the rails and the tubes for the hydraulic hoses. These were in pretty rough shape. I wasn't able to completely straighten them out, but I think they'll all be serviceable. But I did want to get paint around them, so I completely removed all those for the first few coats of paint. I've just reinstalled them, and I want to put at least 1 more coat on top of those to get it all sealed back down real good. And I'm going to hold off on completely painting the bucket because the bucket's not going to stay painted for long anyway, and I have some ideas about, I may be welding in some chain hooks and some things like that, and if I'm going to be welding on it, that paint's not going to hold up to the heat from the welding anyway. So I'll probably wait till all that's finished before I completely paint the bucket real nice. But that's it. Once we get our loader installed and our new tires installed, I believe this project is finished, which pretty excited about that. I'm really looking forward to using it on the farm. And let's take a look at our bucket. Oh yeah, we need to probably vent it. While this is waiting, I can hit this pressure relief here, and right there, I just got water. So that right there tells me my water level is right here. And it's completely optional how high you want to fill them. They recommend filling them no higher than 80%. If you want to just load them to 50%, you can. It's just however much weight you want to put in the tire. The trade-off is the more fluid you put in here, the less air is in the tire, and it's going to make the ride a little bit rougher. The more air you have, the little bit more cushion the tire is going to give you. So you just decide if you want to fill it all the way to 80%, that's your maximum weight. If you just want to fill it halfway, 50%, that's completely fine too. And once you do have it at the level you want, it's just take everything back off, put your valve core back in, and fill it up to the same pressure like you normally would. The only thing you want to make sure you do is whenever you're letting air in or out of your tires, is to try to always have the valve stem at the top. Okay, I just put 24 gallons into this tire. So I'm going to have 24 gallons per tire on this tractor, and it's filling it up to just about where the valve stem is currently. So not quite 80%, but getting pretty close. According to the internet, each gallon should be about 8.6 pounds. Works out to about 206 pounds per tire. So when I do both tires, I'll have at least 400 pounds of ballast additional on the back of this tractor, which should make quite a bit of difference. So that's pretty much it. If you guys liked this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see.